Welcome, everybody, to the Naked Truth About Retirement. I'm Lori Vogelsberg, president of the JCCC Retirees Association, and we're glad you're all here. I'm this point in the, I'm going to start over here. Our discussion today will focus on a variety of topics that we all need to be aware of, things that we've learned and what worked for some of us and what we do different. And lastly, how to get involved with the JCCC Retirees Association. So we've come up with a top 10 list. Even though we know it's exciting, there are many things to consider. The top 10 list of things you need to know or think about when retiring. We will cover many of these topics today, and some are simply things to keep in mind. We'll also share what worked for some of us and what we do different. Don't let it sneak up on you. It's a very different lifestyle than going to work every day. Number one, meet with the human resources folks to make sure that you're aware of current policies regarding vacation days, sick leave, and any other benefits that might be available to you. 2, meet with a representative from CAPERS to determine the best time of year to retire to maximize your benefits. Then you'll need to meet with a Social Security representative to find out the best time to start those benefits. If 65 or nearing 65, work with a professional regarding Medicare benefits and which plans are best for you. It's a very complicated process. Be aware of all your tax implications once you retire. Then on to some of the fun things. Try new things that you've always wanted to do and never had time for. Continue to challenge yourself. Travel, take classes, learn a new skill. And volunteer. There are many agencies that would love to hire retiree volunteers. In fact, you'll probably be inundated with requests for your time. So be careful that they don't get all of it. Exercise. A body in motion stays in motion. And enjoy yourself. You've worked long and hard. Now it's time for you. First of all, we wanted to talk to you briefly about joining the Retirees Association. So for $100, a lifetime fee, one-time lifetime fee, you can join the JCCC RA. Membership is open to anyone that's worked at the college. You don't have to be retired to join. You just have to be an employee that is either here or left in good standing at the college. It's a lifetime membership, which entitles you to participate in all of our activities, use of the Lifetime Fitness Center at no cost, and the opportunity to purchase 2 half-price tickets at the MTC Center during the week of the performance. The membership link on the JCCC website will get you to our membership page, or you can try this tiny URL right here and right, that'll take you there also. Now we're going to turn it over to Dick Stein.
All right, class. Oh, don't do that anymore. I'm going to share a few things with you about Social Security and, of course, Medicare. Suggestions. Start early. Research your options under Medicare. You have lots of choices, or not lots of choices, but you definitely have choices. It's complicated and requires careful attention. There's a lot to learn about Social Security and Medicare, and you'll need to carefully weigh the options to determine which plans are best for you. The decisions you make now about when to start Social Security and which Medicare plan will affect your finances the rest of your life, because you're not going to get paychecks from here anymore. And I'm happy about it. All that money, Social Security, first of all that money we've joyously given to our Uncle Sam since we earned wages trickles back to us as we determine when to retire. CAPERS will be more valuable, but Social Security helps meet our retirement expenses. I suggest that you pull up, this is just behind the ssa.gov, give you some information, the website for more in-depth. I was unaware of this when I retired. I learned about it as I went along. So think about this, that you must earn 40 Social Security credits. Now, if you've worked for Johnson County Community College for 10 years, you got it. And you can't build any more than that. So as long as you picked up the 40 Social Security credits, that's all you need to have achieved. You earn credits when you work and pay Social Security taxes. The number of credits does not affect the amount of benefits you receive. The number of credits you've earned determine your eligibility for retirement or disability benefits, Medicare, and your family's eligibility for survivor's benefits when you die. Government cannot pay benefits if you don't have enough credits. The earliest you can start claiming Social Security retirement benefits is age 62. As I look out on my audience, I don't think there's anybody at age 62 here yet, but you'll get there. Since 1978, you can earn up to a maximum of 4 credits per year. Credits are based on your total wages and or self-employment income for the year. You might work all year to earn 4 credits, or you might earn enough for all in much less time. The amount of earnings it takes to earn a credit may change each year. You never know what the government's going to shove in your ears anywhere along the way. In 1923, you earn 1 Social Security and Medicare credit for every $1,640 in covered earnings each year. You must earn 6,560 to get the maximum 4 credits for the year. Didn't sound too hard. Extra credits do not increase your benefit amount. The average of your earnings over your working years, not the total number of credits you earn, determines how much of your monthly payment will be when you receive benefits. You need 40 credits to qualify for the retirement. And I'm sure that's not an issue for you. Knowing your full retirement age is important. Anyone born in 1960 or later, the full retirement age is 67, unless the law changes, which it could. You can maximize your benefits if you delay your starting age to 70, but you need to balance quality of life versus the need for the additional income. For every month you delay past your full retirement age, your monthly benefit increases by 2/3 of 1%. No need to try to calculate that. If you're eligible because of a spouse's work, the amount is at the highest at your full retirement age, in quotations. That is between 66 and 67. It does not increase if you wait and apply after that time. If your spouse has passed away, you may be eligible for survivor benefits starting at age 60 or at age 50 if you happen to be disabled. You can visit the Social Security office in Lenexa. It's about on 87th Street and I forget exactly, Flum perhaps. But, you can visit Social Security office and meet with one of the counselors to help you determine what will be the best decision to make. And I found that meeting that I took 17 years ago was very helpful. Now switch to Medicare. Go to medicare.gov for all the information for health insurance, drug plans, A, B, C, and D. And this always confuses me. But what's in front of you and you play through it, it makes sense eventually. A is takes care of hospital insurance, nurses, and hospice. B for medical insurance, doctors, outpatients care, etc. Medical advantage is vision, hearing, dental insurance. Prescription drug coverage helps cover prescription of drug costs. You'll be using all of these most likely. You sign up for A and B when first eligible, or you'll pay a late enrollment penalty fee. It's also important to file for Part D at the same time or you'll incur a penalty. They want to get you. Cost of Medicare Part B in 2023 will vary by filing status and income. As income increases, Part B cost also increases. For single individuals making up to $91,000 annually, or married couples filing jointly for $182,000, the Medicare Part B premium in 2023 will be about $170.10. And the Part B deductible is $233. The premium and deductible for Part B typically increases annually. You want to keep tabs on it because they don't tell you about it. You have to kind of know whom to speak with. Each available plan has its advantages and disadvantages. My wife and I work with a Medicaid or with a Medicare Advantage program. It feels a bit nervous when they, not your doctor, determine which treatments are covered and how much to repay. And the list, of course, can change. Our personal experience has been satisfactory, even though with that flexible approach, we haven't really felt like we were digging our way out of anything. It was all easy enough once you get your thumb on it, and don't believe people who don't have their credentials. For details on Medicare changes for 2023, Google changes to Medicare 2023. While Medicare Parts A and B, also called Original Medicare, covers some healthcare costs, they don't pay for everything. That's for the AARP Medicare Supplement Insurance Plan from the United Healthcare may help. Medicare Supplement Insurance Plans are also called Medigap. That's fairly new. But again, we walked into it and it makes sense once you get into it. And they're offered by private insurers. My wife and I are hooked up with Aetna and are happy with it. And that's not a promotion. It's just a recognition that they're out there to help. While Medicaid Parts A and B, Medicare, covers some healthcare costs, they don't pay everything. That's where AARP Medicare Supplement Insurance Plan from the United Healthcare may help. Medicare Supplement Insurance Plans are also called Medigap. Oops, did I say that? I did. They're made to work together. I'm sorry, I can't look up and down at the same time. They're made to work together with the original Medicare coverage. And again, they do a very good job. This information will be posted after the session and you'll be notified on the JCCC list about how to access it. And one final suggestion, when you do retire, please join JCCC Faculty Association.
I'm Phil Wegman, and I retired after 45 years. I worked in counseling and testing and finished up in continuing education. So I want to talk to you about taxes. A lot of you are fairly young.
May have an answer.
Okay. So sign up with Alvin. I thought there was something still working. Did I answer? Good idea, but it doesn't have to do anything with the Part A.
I can answer that because I accidentally signed up for the first part before I retired and I didn't really need to. Right. Well, as long as you're working, that's where the penalty comes in. So, I mean, so you're okay until you stop working. So Yeah, I had to reverse what I did because I was the same way you were, and I thought that I needed to sign up for it early, and I didn't need to do that, so. But, but if you're not sure, talk to Human Resources and they'll help you with it, so.
Okay, so I'll continue. So for most retirees, your income in retirement will consist of Social Security benefits, capers, TIAA, craft, and other investments that you might have made. Some of you might have some other employment income to consider as well. Some people, when they retire, say, I'm going to retire and work another job. Your adjusted gross income will include all income sources. So for a married couple, up to 85% of your Social Security benefits can be taxed if your adjusted gross income is greater than 44,000. Sometimes it's a misconception saying, well, I won't be taxed on Social Security. That's not accurate because it depends on your income. Capers retirement benefits are taxable on your federal income tax return, but not taxable on the Kansas return. And don't forget about RMDs, IRAs, and final year investments. The SECURE Act, which stands for Setting Every Community Up for Retirement Enhancement Act, mandates that you begin taking distributions from your IRA and 401b and 403b plans. The timetable for starting required minimum distributions for RMDs is phased in as follows. If your birth year was 1950 or earlier, your RMD must begin at age 72 or age 70 and a half for those who turned that age before 2020. If your birth year was between 1951 and 1959, you must begin your RMDs at 73. And if your birth year was 1960 or later, your RMDs will begin at age 75. This is important because what happens when you start taking RMDs is that money is added to, that's income, and it's added to the amount of money that you're going to be taxed on. Required minimum distributions from TIAA or other retirement plans are taxable on both state and federal returns. The IRS has developed a table to use to figure out how much you will be required to withdraw each year, depending on your age. As you age, greater distributions are required. Uncle Sam has got a system set up where you cannot escape taxes. The nice thing about the 401b and so forth, the tax deferred, is you save taxes on this end when you're working, but when you retire, it all comes due. Hopefully at a lower rate, but not always. Let's say, for example, your IRA is worth $500,000 as of December 31st, 2022. And you're turning 72 in 2023. The IRS distribution period for 72-year-olds is 27.4 years. So you'll divide that 500,000 by 27.4 years, and you'll get 18,248 of additional income that you'll be taxed on. This is what your RMD for 2022 would be, and the additional amount to be reported on your income tax return. RMDs apply to traditional IRAs and 401 and 403b retirement plans, not Roth investments, since Roth plans are established after taxes were already paid on them. It's a good idea to consider investing in both Roth retirement plans as well as your traditional IRA plans. There is a loophole I want to talk about. There is an RMD loophole. You can make what's called a qualified charitable distribution, QCD, to a charity of your choice. Some of you might choose to do a qualified charitable distribution to the JCCC Scholarship Fund, for example. Anyway, as I go on, the QCD must be withdrawn from a traditional IRA account and sent directly from your retirement account to the charity. You will not get a charitable deduction on your tax return, but your contribution will be excluded from your taxable income. If you issue the check and you donate it to the charity, it will be counted as taxable income. So it's very important that check goes directly from the IRA to that charity. Now, let me introduce Jonathan Bacon to discuss online calculators.
They're traditionally, they talk about a three-legged stool as far as your retirement finances and funding. And the metaphor applies in the sense that you have Social Security, you have your savings and investments, and you have a retirement plan. It's important to consider how much you are actually going to get from Social Security and from your retirement plans like CAPERS and all. So there are two calculators online that will help with that information. And this is probably a good point to let you know, at the very end of this presentation, there's a questions slide. On that slide is a tiny URL. It's a shortcut URL that will take you to this entire presentation with all the notes. So if you don't remember all this stuff, you can take a look at it. We're also going to post the video of this, as exciting as that may be, on YouTube, and you'll be able to, we'll let you know on the JCC list, so you can double check that. But the bottom line is there's a Social Security quick calculator online, and the URL is up there. There's also the CAPERS benefit calculator. And when I retired, life was much simpler. We had one CAPERS, one kind of CAPERS. I now understand you have CAPERS 1, 2, and 3. So you need to know which CAPERS is your favorite CAPERS. And then you want to go to the CAPERS site. And if you scroll down to the bottom, you'll see a list of the calculators, and you simply go to the one that applies to you. Now, I want to introduce our distinguished Dave Ellis. Oh, by the way, I should have mentioned that I worked at the Educational Technology Center, and I retired in 2010. Seems like a long time ago. And when I walk around, I almost don't recognize anybody anymore, but I'm glad to see a few faces that I do remember. So let me turn it over to Dave.
Good to see everybody here today. Again, my name is Dave Ellis. I was a counselor here for 30 years and have been retired almost 4 years, and recognize a lot of faces out there. And just really quickly, just want to mention, after we heard the discussions from everybody here, my wife and I had the policy, what we call ask around. And what that meant is that when I was working through Medicare, Social Security, financial planner, trying to find people, we just ask around. We ask around people that we really knew well, and we trusted that they had some good names, and we checked them out. And we've really found some really great people doing that. And because if you notice, you'll get a lot of stuff in the mail start coming in, all kinds of flyers and all kinds of things when you're getting close to 65. But when we ask around, and we found some good people, and we tried 3 or 4 different people, and we found who we liked, and we're staying with them. And we keep in regular time with them and visit with them regularly to go from there. Now we're asking ourselves, I have kind of the fun part here a little bit. What's it like when you first retire? You know, what's that first day like when you go home? And I was just asking Mary Jean what hers was like, and she said, I did a lot of sleeping the first week, lots of sleeping. And you almost, when you leave, you almost feel almost guilty because you've been working so long. Richard's going, no, I don't feel guilty at all. You know, and the thing is, it's what I mean by that is you go home and you say, I feel like I should be going to work. And especially when it comes back to sleeping, a lot of times you've been getting up at the same time for a long time. And it's hard for me to sleep in a little bit later when I first retired. But I remember when I first retired, I went to almost all kinds of different coffee shops for the first week. I don't know what it was about coffee shops. I just wanted to go someplace and relax and read some retirement books. Actually, I read some books about retirement. But we're encouraging you all just to, go back and just kind of relax and rest a little bit, and don't feel guilty about doing that. You can just sit in your living room and veg out for a little while if you want to, and there's nothing wrong with doing that. But I know that sometimes it's really difficult for a lot of people sometimes, but there's nothing, don't feel guilty about that. And I would suggest during that first month, maybe trying to do some fun things that you have always thought about doing. but not taking a long time, going to a movie, especially going to a matinee or something and nobody's there, which is perfect. And you don't have to worry about the crowds, walking, hiking, playing, maybe playing some golf or basketball or pickleball. That's a big thing right now. Or reading a good book that you never have time to read, but now you have the time to do it is another good thing. I've met a lot of friends for lunch during that time. I look forward to having that lunchtime, and I wasn't a rush to get back to work and just having time to meet them for lunch. And short trips are kind of nice too. Just take a short trip. I wouldn't necessarily plan a huge long trip when at the first week or 2 weeks you retire. Just, go somewhere that you haven't been for a long time and just relax and do that. And, one of the other things too is when you first retire, if you are married, you either have the spouse who is working the same time that you're retired, okay, and they're still working, and then your spouse is retired just like you're retired. And there's two different dynamics there. I can tell you that right now and how that works out. But I can tell you, I know for the first year, my wife was still working for the first year, and I just tended to do stuff that I really enjoyed doing. But once my wife retired, we had to plan things with each other. And sometimes that could be a little bit of a conflict, but not necessarily if you've talked about it quite a bit. But again, we're not trying to tell you to do a bunch of stuff when you first retire. Just take time and relax, and don't be afraid to take a nap. I know I've taken a lot of naps in the afternoons since I've been retired. But and again, Anita's going to talk about a few things about volunteering here in a minute. But since that time, I've really done a lot of volunteering, lots of volunteering, which I love to do. It's something I enjoy doing, but I didn't do it right away. I just took a couple of months off and just taking it easy. So, all right, I'm going to get it over to Mary Jean now.
Thanks. I'm also known as Anita, just so you know. My name is Mary Jean Billingsley, and I've worked in the field of career development here at the Career Development Center, and have worked in continuing education as well. And I was going to talk a bit about volunteering. And I don't know about anybody else here, but I'm dealing with allergies this month. Anybody else dealing with this? So I may just have a sneezing attack in the middle of this. I don't know, but we'll just go ahead. So volunteering enriches our society. It brings us together as a community, and it keeps organizations afloat. Not only is volunteering important because it helps our community, it also helps us as individuals. Connecting with others raises our endorphins and those we help. Retirement, though, is your precious time. Be selective about how much time you give to others. So you'll find this, and I think each of us have talked about this, people that know you're retiring all of a sudden gather around you and ask you to start helping with different things they're involved in. And I think the best advice, and Dave mentioned this, is to just give yourself some space for a while. Don't commit to anything right away. So start by committing to just short time frames, maybe say 6 months, and always add something like, well, I would be willing to test it out for 6 months or something like that. You can always commit to more time later. One of the values of being in this organization is you can stay connected with the college, but you don't have the responsibility of your jobs at the college, so it's a lot more fun. You can also stay connected with the students if you choose to do that. And there's a lot of options for that. There's going to be many listed on here, but some of them include, in the athletics department, you can assist the coaches with helping at sports events. The Center for Sustainability, you can help with a variety of earth-friendly projects and events. The CLEAR program is always looking for support teachers in their continuing ed classes for adults with cognitive disabilities. And if you've got a green thumb, you can help with the spring plant sale with the greenhouse here on campus. Johnson County Adult Education also looks for people to help adult students improve their reading, writing, and math skills. or prepare for GED high school equivalency test and earn English as a non-native speaker. The Nerman Museum of Contemporary Art also has volunteers with their docent program. And actually, one of my sisters does that. She volunteers at Nerman, and she really likes being connected with the art community. The Midwest Trust Center series, you can become an usher of all-star in performing arts. You can do special projects and events on a volunteer basis in areas around the campus. There's also, as you know, a wonderful veteran and military student resource on campus. And you can volunteer with them to become a community mentor for veterans and military affiliated students. But remember to give your time to things that energize you. You don't want to be giving your time to something that depletes you. And suddenly you're as tired as you were handling all of your responsibilities here. So there's many more listed on the information Jonathan said you'll have access to after this. But I would just say, enjoy your time. First of all, you'll find out that you may be sleep deprived the first few weeks. And as Dave mentioned, there are so many cool coffee places. We've talked about quite a few of those. So now I'd like to introduce Jean Smith. Are we on?
Okay, now? Okay, so I'm Jean Smith. I worked here for, I think, 100 years at this college, but I enjoyed every minute I was here. I actually retired in 2007. I worked in the business office technology department. And I would like to, first of all, congratulate all of you on your retirement, if you're retiring this year, or if it's down the road 2 or 3 years. I know that there's an awful lot of information that you need to consider when you retire. And I'm going to cover what is called the 4 phases of retirement. And this information all came out of a book that's entitled The 4 Phases of Retirement, What to Expect When You're Retiring. I think now this is only available in a Kindle version, if I'm not mistaken, but still it's available. The other thing is there's tons of books out there about retirement. There are a lot of programs that you see on Facebook. There's a retirement session here and there. So I would say to get all of the information you can about retiring when you make that decision. There's a quote in this book, and it says that everyone says you've got to be ready financially, but you've got to get ready psychologically. Now, there's 2 important reasons why you need to get ready psychologically. Number one is that there are 10,000 North Americans that are retiring today. And there are going to be just as many that retire in the next 10 to 15 years. So, you know, this is like a tsunami of retirement. So there's a lot of us out there. The other reason is that there's a good chance that you will spend the next 1/3 of your life in retirement. So, and that's interesting because I think people did retire earlier, and now because of our economy, sometimes we are retiring later in life. So the financial aspect, they've already covered all about the Social Security, all about your capers, but I think psychologically you really need to be prepared. So we're going to cover 4 different areas. One of them is 4 phases. First one is vacation time. The second one is lost and lost. The third one is trial and error. And then there's reinvent and repurpose. And just remember that all these 4 phases are nothing more than a framework to help you get through your retirement. So let's take a look at phase 1. In phase one, this is vacation time. One that Dave was talking about where you need to just do whatever, sit back, whatever. It's a fun time. It's a time where you're dreaming and planning what you're going to do. It's a time where, there's a sense of relief. There's a sense of excitement. And also, I think there's a sense of accomplishment because you've spent 20, 30, 40 years in a career, and now you're going to retire. So that's a lot to accomplish in those years. The fact is that once you decide to retire, you can wake up when you want to, and you can do what you want to. You have no more routines to follow. You have no more schedules to follow. You may think about travel plans. I know one of the things that I did was to travel. And, you can travel across the city, you can travel across the state, you can go international. Another thing that people do is to plan for purchasing something big, a big item, such maybe you're purchasing a new car, a new truck, maybe a new boat. You want to go fishing. If you want to travel, you may think about purchasing a new RV. I have a friend that when she retired and her husband retired, they did just that. They purchased a 5th wheel, traveling ever since, all over the place. So again, those are all the fun things that you can think about to do. Another thing is you may want to spend more time with your spouse or your partner. You may want to spend more time with your grandchildren and attend, some of their activities as well. Hobbies. There's a lot of hobbies. One of the things that I wanted to do was to take up golf. So I did that, and I'm still doing that. There's gardening, and I think there's volunteering, of course, to do, which Mary Jean has already talked about. And again, I think somebody mentioned pickleball. That seems to be the big thing now. And however, I think that's sort of a vicious game. I think that's here's our pickleball queen here. So I haven't tried that yet. I'm still trying to get over bowling. I can't get that ball to get laying. Anyway, tons of things to do. A vacation time for you. It's said that usually people are in this vacation time about a year, but there's no set time to be in any one of these phases. It depends on what you're going to do and what suits you best. So the other thing that I found is if you're in this vacation time too long, it gets really boring because I thought that I wanted to do nothing. Well, that took me about 2 days. That was no fun. So you want to get yourself out of phase one and get into what we call phase two. Phase two is what we call the loss and lost phase. In this phase, there are 5 big losses that you need to consider. One of them is the loss of your routine. You no longer have that structure. I remember getting up every day about the same time, getting in my car at the same time, getting on campus at the same time. And so you that structure, you have that's gone. The second one is the loss, the sense of identity. So you no longer have people that actually come to you and ask your advice or ask your opinion. The third loss is the loss of relationships. And I think this one probably to me was the worst thing simply because I didn't have my colleagues to talk to. I didn't have my students to talk to. I enjoyed my students every semester and it was a new batch every semester. And now I didn't have, I had 4 walls to look at my house and that was it. So you do lose relationships. The fourth one is a sense of purpose. What is your purpose? You had a purpose when you worked every day. Now you can get to the point where you've lost that purpose. And the last one is the loss of power. So, this is kind of an awful stage to be in. You really don't want to be in this stage for a long time. The other thing is you may where you're spending too much time with your spouse and you have to make some changes there. Or you're just flat out bored and there is nothing to do. So I would encourage you not to spend a lot of time in this phase. One thing I read, the author of this book, he said, you need to really be careful about, there's 5 losses, but you need to be careful about the 3 Ds in this stage. And those 3 Ds were divorce, depression, and decline. So those things, this phase, you want to stay away from as much as you can. So let's go on to phase 3 and see how you can remedy all of this. Phase 3 is trial and error. And basically what you need to do in this is you simply need to ask yourself, what is there that I can do that is worthwhile? What are the opportunities available to me? How can I? I think you're a happier person when you're able to help others as well as yourself. So you need to consider that. The volunteering thing, Mary Jean went over that. You can volunteer about 24/7. So you have to really be careful of that. But that's also one of the things that I think helps you get through your retirement, or at least the first part of it. You need to find a project or some venture, something that is meaningful to you and to others. Some of you may want to even start a new career. Have a friend that when she retired from here, she took up painting, and now she's a very accomplished artist. She probably thought she would, but she did. I have a son-in-law who retired early, and he was a consultant in the medical and technical field, and now he makes furniture out in his garage. He actually finds a tree that somebody has, it's fallen in their yard. He goes and gets the tree, takes it to the mill, saws it up, and then brings it home and makes beautiful furniture. Always that new career along the line. And that's why this is called a trial and error. It's because if you find something that you want to do and it doesn't work out, then you simply find something else to do. Trial and error, right? It's going to take your skills, all the skills that you have, all the strengths that you have, all the interests that you have, and you can put them to work and find something that really works for you and is very meaningful. Explore all your options. The one thing I would tell you in this phase is you probably need of your endeavors, because you may do something and it doesn't work out. Like I should probably quit golf because I'm not a good golfer. I should find something else. But so there may be some limited success, but again, it's the trial and error phase. All right, at some point you get to phase 4. In phase 4, this is what we call the reinvest and repurpose. The people that seem to be the happiest in retirement get to this phase 4. And their life is good, it's interesting, it's fun. And it's that way because, number 1, you find your purpose. And number 2, you find your mission. You find the activity that is meaningful to you and others. So you've sort of hit upon your high point in your retirement. You've been able to combine all of your strengths, all of your passions, all of your interests, and all of your desires to make a difference in your life and the lives of others. The other interesting thing is that once you get to phase 4, you actually get back all of those 5 losses, back your routines. You get back your identity. You get back your relationships. You get back your purpose. You get back your power. All right. So There was a study in this book that said, I think it was a Harvard study, and they interviewed like 15,000 retirees. One of the key points that they found was the unhappiest retirees had not gone on to do anything productive beyond pleasing themselves. So in other words, they never got out of that vacation time. They never got out of that phase one. So if I had any advice to give, I would tell you, enjoy that vacation time, phase one. I would tell you to be prepared for phase two. You are going to feel some losses as you go along. Experiment by trying many different things, and that's phase three. And once you've done that, then you're going to be able to live your best retirement in phase four. So with that, I will give it down, I think, to Phil, who's going to talk about staying active.
Well, you may find that many of the physical and social opportunities you had while you were working are not readily available as a retiree. I know when I was here, I would take off every day at noon, work out in the gym, would walk or run, or do that circuit. When I retired, that wasn't available. So what you need to think about doing is to develop a plan to stay active physically and socially. And what you might look into would be like joining a health club, getting into a walking group, joining, of course, the Retirees Association. One thing I'd mention is as when you're in Medicare, in Medicare, when you have Medicare, you're available for a lot of health clubs have silver sneakers that you can join for a minimal amount of money, and it's a great investment. So again, stay active physically, socially, and again, that'll all contribute to your personal best. And now I want to introduce Anita Tipp.
Thank you, Phil. What I'd like to speak and do it very shortly. First of all, I'm Anita Tebby, and I was with the Legal Studies Department for 28 years, 28 good years. And I am now in my retirement. I have been in it for 7 years, and I want to recommend it to everybody. And so nice to see you all here, and thank you for coming. I believe very strongly in being a lifelong learner, keeping that mind going. And I do it, and this is all very personal, I do it in two ways, through extensive traveling as well as through education. And when I talk about travel, I mean traveling local, state, and nationally. And when I talk about education, I mean I'm very involved in teaching others and learning from others. And what we're going to look at now is a slide that has, yes, thank you, Jonathan. Want to expand on this. So the first one deals with the international program that we have at the college, and it is unbelievably wonderful. And this summer, there are 7 international trips that are going on, and you're probably all aware of them. And I'm going to participate in the one going to Japan, which is in May. And there are a lot of other professors, teachers going, as well as students. And I love to travel internationally. And this college is just a marvelous resource for that. And I have traveled extensively since my retirement, both local, state, and internationally. And Jeanette Jasperson is head of the department, and just a wonderful source for information on that. The next one up there is the Johnson County Parks and Recreation. You want to get connected with that. They're a wonderful resource for travel, for education, both, again, local, state, and international. The third one I have up there is the Road Scholar. And some of you have heard me talk about this and talk about this. They go, do you have any other subject to talk about, Anita? And I really, this is a favorite one of mine. Road Scholar is an organization that again provides for national and international trips. What I have done is I discovered that they have a special program for grandparents and grandchildren. And so I have 5 grandchildren. We have all gone on a special trip when they turned 10. And we've gone to Yosemite, we've gone to a dude ranch and done horseback riding. We've gone to Niagara Falls. They pick the trip and then we go. And so there's usually about 30 people, 15 children and 15 grandparents. And we all bond and have a marvelous time. I would strongly recommend this to you. It's a little bit pricey, but as far as I'm concerned, was worth every penny of it. In fact, one of my grandsons, he's the second oldest, a rather reserved young man, and he chose to go to Yosemite. And every night we would go back to our cabin, and they call me Nina, and he'd say, "Nina, this was the best day of my life." And I'd say, "I'm so happy, Davy." And then he'd say it the next night. And I go, "But Davy, you said that yesterday." He goes, "But I really, really mean it today." I mean, I'll never forget that. And just the wonderful memories that we have from that. Now I've run out of grandchildren, and everybody says we've gone on all 5 trips, and people go, "Well, I have some grandchildren you can take." And I go, "No, I got a better idea." And the better idea is when they graduate from high school, and I have one that is my oldest one, we're going to go on an international trip because now they're old enough. But I've said to my children and their spouses, one of you have to go with me because I don't want to have that responsibility if all of a sudden one has an appendicitis attack that, I do not want to be responsible for making that decision. So we're waiting. So this time next year, I hope I can tell you we've gone on our first international trip. The last thing that is up there is, I think is the Osher one. And Osher is a continuing ed program through Kansas University. And I'm very involved in it, both as a teacher and a learner. And they do wonderful things. And yesterday I started, and I don't mean to always be talking about myself, but obviously I am. New course on First Ladies. And it's 3 times it meets, 2 hours apiece. And people from all over the area, and this was at Meadowbrook, and there were 25 people there. And we talk about the First Ladies, and I've done a number of research on that. And I get a real high from interacting with adults and learning from them as well as teaching them. I've taken through Osher a class on Eleanor Roosevelt, on Truman, it goes on and on. Tomorrow at 7:00, I'm going to be in Lawrence, which is the Osher's headquarters, and we're going to go on a bus tour to Abilene to see the Eisenhower. And I'm supposed to do the running commentary on it because I've had the privilege of going to all 13 presidential libraries. And I love doing this. I learn so much and it stimulates this mind. And so I would recommend, and this is my last thing, and we've all given advice here. The thing that I learned very quickly was give yourself time when you retire. And I was told, give yourself a year, try a lot of different things. And I did. And I love to volunteer, and I volunteer, and it's all dealing with teaching. I help people study for the GED test. I help people study for the naturalization. But it took me a while to figure that out. I was in education 46 years. That's where my passion is, learning and teaching and taking great joy and hopefully benefiting others. And I found out, I love working with people and serving meals, and especially homeless people. And I did that for a while when I was first retired, but it just wasn't quite a good fit for me. I was part of nonprofits, collecting clothes and furniture and dealing with that. Again, marvelous work, but that's not who I am. And I'm not trying to put anything down, but I think you have to bring out your best self in retirement as you have the rest of with your former life. And I wish you all well in this wonderful new stage that you're going to enter. Thank you.
Okay, I'm Marilyn Gerens and I have been retired about a year and a half. And I worked in marketing right before I retired, but I was in information services and also financial aid. So I'm going to talk about events that the Retirees Association has. And I actually was one of the people that joined the retirees organization before I was retired because they had so many fun events that I wanted to do some of the things that they had. So now I'm planning the events. So that's kind of, but it's really fun to be part of the organization. So a lot of the things that we do, we have so many events going on, and it's not just me. We have a group of people planning events. We take tours everywhere. We have a lot of activities. We have volunteer activities as well as special interest groups, and we call them SIGs for special interest groups. Like we have a wine tasting group that met last night. Probably once a month or once every other month, we have wine tasting events, and there's so much fun that there's a lot of people that go that don't drink, but it's just a fun social. So and then we also have a crafts interest group, travel interest group, photography is another one, and we have wine or restaurants and barbecue. So every month we will either go to a restaurant as a group or a barbecue place. We alternate those as well. And then some of the other things that we do, we've taken trips to Herman, Missouri. We've gone to the Truman Museum, and thanks to Anita, we found out that the George Bush oil paintings were coming to the Truman. And so we went and saw the oil paintings, which was really interesting. Some more things, we went to the Clydesdale Ranch and went to Abilene and saw the Eisenhower Museum. And we have been doing Chiefs Watch in the football season and going to Chicken and Pickle to do that. Some other things that we've done during restaurant week, we'll go to at least one restaurant and we let people decide where they want to go. And we just get a lot of feedback from the members and telling us what they like to do. We've had 16 book discussions and 19 movies that we've gone to in the last year. We did a zip line excursion and a picnic in the park. One of the fun things that we did was we had someone that was part of the architectural board that did a tour of downtown Art Deco buildings, which was really interesting. And we tied that in with the Art Deco exhibition that was at the Nelson. And so that was really, really interesting. Another example is we did a Vermont maple syrup tasting event. And we had a chocolate lovers tour of Kansas City, some of the best chocolate places to go. So that is pretty much just a summary of some of the things we've done in the last year for the events. So I think I'll turn it back over to Lori now, our president.
All right, so that's all we have for you today. But remember, we'd love for you to join the JCCC RA when you retire or now. Membership again is open to anybody who has worked at JCCC, and for $100 you have a lifetime membership fee, which entitles you to all of our activities, including the fitness center and half price tickets at the Midwest Trust Center. The membership link is on the JCCC website, or just enter JCC Retirees Association in the search box and it'll take you to our membership page. Below there is there a link on the slide? There it is. No, that's download a copy of our presentation. Thank you for coming today. We are glad to see all of you and good luck on your retirement journey.